Yeah, give me a G.
Let's see here.
I haven't warmed it up for a while.
Hold on really quick. For everyone listening in, can we just just get ready to receive?
Come on.
What Matt,
Will you
what
sing?
Matt has.
Okay, so but you're going to sing. Give me one.
Just put your hands out. Really quick. How sweet the sound
A little louder.
that saved a wretch like me. I
Anyways,
once.
I'm still working on it. Let's just stop.
I was really feeling that. Be blessed.
There.
Be blessed.
Dang it.
That was phenomenal.
I've been working on it, but I'm a little rusty and didn't have a chance to warm it up. But
We
let's
gotta
take
make
our
it.
first caller. Let's take
Okay.
our first
All right,
caller.
sounds
Thanks
good.
for
Yeah,
trying.
absolutely.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
You kind of. I was hoping you'd harmonize when I was
should've-
going
I
higher,
should've-
but
I should've
you
followed
really
you.
hit that high note. I didn't know you were a soprano.
I should have
But,
followed your lead on that. That's
we
my
have
bad.
our first youth pastor on. Who is it? Pastor Bryce. Are you on here? Why don't you just let us know who you are, how long you've been in youth ministry, and actually, I got to. Sorry about that. Pastor Bryce. Let me put you on the speaker. There you are. Pastor Bryce, let us know who you are, how long you've been doing youth ministry, where you're at, and just maybe a story and a question that goes along with it around worship.
Pastor Bryce. I'm from Fairbanks, Alaska. Been doing youth
Wow.
ministry for about 5 years. And a story. Let's see. I was at a church in a smaller, in a village, and we were doing youth ministry with we had about 15 kids in the room or something like that, maybe 12. And it was just me and my wife doing worship. And, I'm trying to create a culture of worship. A lot of these kids are unchurched, never been in church before. And so I'm trying to, throw my hands up, clap, move around a lot, like over exaggerate it. So like I'm demonstrating, and I look over to my left and I see this kid in the front row just laying flat on the ground.
Oh, no.
Like taking a nap,
Oh,
right,
man.
like straight on the ground. And everybody's just looking at him. No one's looking at how we're doing. I'm like, oh my, how do I address this? So I tried to talk to him, get him up, sit up, all those types of things. But yeah, that's when I knew I was in trouble. I needed some help in creating this culture of worship.
Wow.
That's amazing.
That is amazing. So, okay, we've all been there before, I feel like, as youth pastors, where you got that student sleep. And I think in the back, I've had students sleep in the back, but in the front, that's amazing. New. I remember there was an altar call that happened a long time ago when I was in 8th grade. And it went so long, I'm just going to be straight up, I fell asleep at the altar. I was that kid you just talked about. And so there's some sort of hope for that kid. Not much, but a little bit.
Yes.
So, But tell us then, like, just what comes out of that? What's just a question that you have that comes out of that story for us today?
And every place I've been as a youth pastor, you always have to reestablish culture, and that comes with establishing culture and worship. But if you don't have someone that can lead your team, especially in smaller churches, with my wife is an amazing youth leader, our worship leader. But not everybody always has that. And so if you as a pastor don't have the giftings naturally to play and worship and lead worship, how do you even start that? How do you even start worship in a culture when you don't have anybody on the team, you don't have anybody to lead it? Like, what does that even look like?
Yeah, what a great question.
Yeah.
Even with me trying to learn the saxophone and be a worship leader, I thought I'd have to, but a lot of us were not gifted in that. So what do you do? Where do you even begin? He was even serving in a rural town in Alaska. Where would you start? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the first thing that comes to mind, I'm not sure what the culture is where you're at. It kind of depends on maybe your lead pastor and what expectations there are. But the church that I grew up in was really small. I mean, we had probably 25 people in total when I first arrived, my dad took over the church. And then it slowly grew from there. But when I was in youth group, it started off the first year or two as just playing a playlist off of like someone's iPod, and like we just, and then our youth leaders taught us how to worship and like would pray and kind of exhort within it to teach us how to worship, but it was all to like Jesus culture, Bethel or whatever, and that was super, super powerful. I mean, it's same spirit, you know, if and it's the same way of like teaching worship. And then even if it's like as we grew, it became acoustic worship, one guy with an acoustic, and then the team kind of grew and it scaled from there. And so, I mean, I think wherever you're at, you can totally teach and engage, even if it's from a playlist or something like that.
It's really good.
Yeah, and then I think sometimes too, and this can go either way. Like sometimes it's better to do that and minimize distractions rather than push for someone that isn't ready yet. Not that they have to be amazing, you know. It's like people let me play at 12 and I wasn't great, but they were gracious. But rather than pushing just to have live music that could be distracting and maybe not as engaging, maybe wait to develop the team and do canned music.
Yeah, no, that's really good.
That's an idea.
And I think sometimes as youth pastors, we compare ourselves to other ministries, those online, and we go, man, really a playlist? Isn't that embarrassing? Isn't that awkward? Here's what I know. The core kids that you have at your youth ministry right now, they're going to be there no matter what.
Yeah.
They're there. They're the core kids or the Christian kids. They're the ones there within your ministry. And I love what you said. It can take time. And you start, there's an acoustic. Someone can learn how to play acoustic. Why? Because you allowed your core kids to catch the heart of worship.
Right, yeah.
So yes, it's a little awkward if they bring a new friend and you're just singing, with a track. But right now in this season, possibly, if you don't have that built up in that culture, that's okay. You're teaching your kids the heart of worship to catch that fire, to want to learn how to play the guitar, to want to know how to sing in the right tune. And that's where you link them up to maybe some adults in your church that can sing or that can play guitar or do a piano. But again, like what you said, that takes time. Are you willing to be there longer than 2 years at your youth ministry to build the worship culture? Because it's not going to happen over 3 Wednesdays or Sundays doing it to a playlist.
Yeah.
But don't get, thrown off by, a playlist, is that awkward? Well, that's where you're at right now. And we're going to teach the kids how to have a heart for God.
Yeah, I feel better to have that than nothing. I know some youth groups in some places that just don't do it because they don't have anyone to lead live, and rather teach with a playlist than not have it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we all remember those moments where we had a God experience in worship. We weren't worried about who was playing and singing. Those moments that we had that encounter. And again, there weren't distracting people doing worship, or maybe we wouldn't have had that encounter. It was distracting, but it was enough with care that it didn't matter how it was even, who was playing or anything like that.
Yeah.
So, Pastor Bryce, that's a great question. Anything that you'd add to that?
No, I mean, you guys said it all. I think it's easy to establish culture even with a playlist, because you're representing what needs to happen right from the front row, raising your hands, engaging in worship, and you can talk through what the songs mean and what the words that you're singing and how we're praising God or calling out to God, and you can do all that with a playlist or with live music. So I loved what you guys said.
That's great. Pastor Bryce, Fairbanks, Alaska. Thanks for calling in today. Great question. Appreciate you calling in.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Of course. That's great. Wow. Great question. Way to kick it off there. I don't know if you could tell I'm wearing my...
I love your where's
my
Waldo?
American...
Sorry.
Well, actually, man, where's Waldo? I was thinking they were my American socks, but that
Either
would be,
way.
I wore them because of our favorite holiday that we both share.
Absolutely.
4th of July.
We got to share some stories about that.
We have some crazy stories of the 4th of July. 4th of July is my favorite holiday, and it's around the Harder home. We have a big reunion that people come together, and we have a barbecue. And Canaan has been.
I have been.
And
then I had kids, and I'm like, I need to keep my hands.
There it is. I have kids. I need to keep my hands. That hasn't happened yet. I haven't had that epiphany yet that I should slow down with the 4th. But I guess this is a good moment just to say that, you haven't been invited back to the 4th at one of that. And I guess it's just good to say the reason why. Have you noticed just those late nights you haven't been invited to on the 4th the last few years? Because the first time I met your father, and one of the greatest rules was not to share what happens on the 4th. Your dad went to share with me. Oh, I know who you are. You're Matt Harder.
No.
I've heard the 4th of July stories with my son.
He outed me.
He outed you, and from that day forward, no more invites. But you know what?
Granted, I thought those stories were staying in California.
I think your wife Emily's happy that there's no more invites because she doesn't want you out there in that crazy war area. But
if there's anything I can do to get an invite again, just let me know.
Now that I've gotten that off my chest, I think that you can get an invite back again. And now we just gotta
This is
make
grace.
sure
This
your
is,
fam's okay with that you'd come back out with us. So, all right, we got another caller coming in here, and why don't you let us know who you are? Caller, there you are. Oh, there you are. Let us know who you are, where you're from, how long you been in youth ministry, and then go ahead and share us with that story and maybe a question that comes with it.
Sure. What's up, guys? My name is KJ. I've been in student ministry for 11 years at the same church this year, so
Wow.
super
That's
fun.
really cool.
Really, cool.
And absolutely love it. Calling from Richmond, Virginia today. So thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. A funny story I have, kind of like youth worship. We've kind of incorporated like youth and adults into our or on Wednesdays when we do youth worship, we have adults on the team and students are peppered in, and then even on Sundays. So students are very much a part of all worship that we do. And on a Sunday morning, like legit Sunday morning, we have services at our first service starts at 8 in the morning. And we used to do 8:15, but that was like way long ago. This particular student had been on the worship team through the transition, so just forgot that, like, just one day just wasn't paying attention. So service has the countdown, and like the worship team is back in the backstage. They're making their way out, and everyone's like, "Where's Owen?" Owen plays drums, and so everyone's like, "Where is Owen? We cannot start without drums. Like, what's going on?" And I like,
that's not just some BGV or some random background singer that you could turn their mic off. You're talking about the drummer.
What are we doing? And so no one can find Owen. And so then I'm like, I play drums, and I'm like, I'm literally just grabbing like a mic pack and an in-ear set, and I'm like, what's the song? Like, I wasn't in rehearsal. I haven't looked at Planning Center, nothing. And they're like, it's Joy of the Lord, or, House of the Lord, and other Phil Wickham things, very cookie cutter, what you're doing. And I was like, all right, I'm in. So I've been playing drums like my whole life. And so I went in. I didn't get to set my ears. I didn't get to do anything. The drums are blaring my brains out. Like, it's so awful. And everyone is wondering, like, what is happening? Like, the worship team saw me just kind of, or the church is obviously standing, getting ready to worship, and they see me just go in, not part of the team, like scrambling, I'm looking for sticks. It's awful. Turns out Owen is just sitting in his truck in the parking lot, just doom scrolling, because he was like, he comes in at 8:15, which we haven't done an 8:15 at this point for like 6 months, and he's like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot.
That's so funny.
I thought service started at 8:15, and we're already 2 songs through a 3-song set. And then afterwards, it was like, when I walked off, he just gave me a huge hug and was like, I'm so sorry, I can't even believe it. And now, to his credit, it has been, I don't know, 2 or 3 years since then, and he is the first one to rehearsal every time he is scheduled. He doesn't miss a thing.
Wow. No,
So
the fact I'm more blown away
So
in that
funny.
story that you jumped up on that stage and you just got in and you went for it and got into those drums. That's impressive. That's
amazing.
youth pastor right
and
there.
our
next
MD
level.
was just giving, like, I didn't have the click I didn't have anything set for myself, so she was just tapping her foot on the floor to show me what the count was for the song, and I was just dialed in. Like, I wasn't missing that at all. And I was also looking at the guitarist strumming and people clapping, and I was able to keep it going. But man, it was rough.
I'm reminded, Canaan, of, I don't know if you remember this, but we were talking in the lobby and the countdown was going, and I knew you had plenty of time, but I said, Canaan, they're about to start. You have 5 seconds left. And you literally got up. He didn't even look at the countdown. You didn't even look at the countdown. You sprinted and ran.
So fast.
And I was totally joking. And you got it there. You're like, he still had a couple minutes, but that was gold.
That
but
is
this
amazing.
was,
funny.
But this was actually someone, he literally messed up the times, didn't show up. That's amazing, and that's happened to people before.
yeah.
Tons of I've heard stories out of that. So
Total nightmare scenario. Yeah, especially if it's not a background vocalist who you can it's okay, but it's like drums.
Wow.
What the heck are we doing?
Wow. Well, I'm glad he's still on your team. That's great.
I was gonna say.
And what question do you have coming out of that?
Yeah, that's awesome. It kind of ties into that of How do you, Canaan, thanks for taking my question. How do you raise up student worship leaders who aren't just talented, but also spiritually mature? And then even follow up, what's the best way to disciple them while also developing their leadership on stage?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Well, first off, you're a worship pastor's dream, by the way. You just jump in there and do it. I was going to jokingly say, like, and they never saw Owen again. And I was like, after that day.
We never know what happened to Owen.
Still to this day. Oh, man, but for students, I mean, Pastor Matt can attest to this. And at New Life, junior high school age range has been the lifeblood of our worship team for years and years. I had the privilege of serving with Pastor Matt as his worship pastor in Next Gen for several years. And really, I would say that is the best place to develop. Adult worship team members are phenomenal too, but there's just something about the youth age where they're malleable, often teachable. Sometimes they're not, like in that 16-year-old range, like they either think they know everything or they realize that they don't know anything and they're willing to learn. But I think it's just the best place to train because they oftentimes want to learn and they're really open to feedback. And if you can train them from that age, it's just such a beautiful thing to see how they develop culture. They catch the culture that you're looking for them to catch and can lead it. I mean, you probably know this as a youth pastor, but what I found is just relational time, one-on-one time matters a whole lot to junior high and high school age students, even more than adults with families and jobs. It's like I could hang out with Kevin, who plays guitar and has, he works at Boeing once or twice a year, and that's all he wants because he doesn't have a ton of time. But to be able to develop and pour relationally into students, it gets them closer to what you would hope for them to be in maturity because you get to spend a lot of time with them. And it also just develops that relationship. So, I'm trying to figure out, I feel like I wandered a little bit there, but I mean,
that was solid.
Yeah, it's prime for, and also just being willing to give opportunity. I mean, we're from a larger church and I grew up in a smaller church, and our pastors are wonderful because they're happy to have people that are definitely good enough. There's a line of quality, but it's not like this person has to be singing professionally for 3 years to serve on our stage. And so there's plenty of room for young people to grow into the setting, and to develop. And I've loved to lean into that as worship pastor of our church.
Yeah, no matter what size of church you're at, small, large, there are always different environments you can place different students and
So
where
true.
they're at with how good they are, and as far as how many times they've been doing it. I think of the first time I spoke a message would have been in a small group setting. Same with worship people. Hey, maybe you have an acoustic moment where they've learned that one song they haven't known a lot, but it's one song they know, they've learned it, they have a good enough voice where it's not distracting, and they're in a small group of 9 people and they lead their first song.
So true.
It's just like giving a kid an opportunity to pray in a small group, maybe do a little testimony is the same. I think we always equate worship to services and traditional services, and especially where we're at in our culture now, there are so many different avenues and venues for kids. Shoot, you could get kids doing the song of the week on Instagram, and they sing a song and you post it from your social media account, and they're not even on worship team yet because they're just not at that capabilities yet. Right. So there's a bunch of different ways you can engage kids into the worship as they continue to get better. You may not be able to train them. You may even be at a church that doesn't have the staff or the people. Maybe your church doesn't have great worship of people that are engaged with worship. It's an overall church culture issue. In the day and age we live in now, find them YouTube free videos to learn how to play those things, and get them the ones who are starting to learn, and give them environments to learn that. And then maybe one day those kids will be your worship leaders at your main church.
So good.
And it may just take a few years to get there, but you got to start somewhere, not let the need overwhelm you as a youth pastor, which happens a lot.
Really good.
So good, man.
No, great stuff. Pastor KJ, thank you for sharing that. That story is hilarious. It just brought me back to the time where I was that kid, and just getting an opportunity to play guitar and missing those moments, showing up on time, but still be having grace on you. So that's great. So thanks for calling in, Pastor KJ. And
absolutely, guys. Thanks for having me today.
Yep.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you. Thanks for chatting. God bless you.
Totally. See you guys.
See ya. Good stuff, man. Really good. These are some great questions from youth pastors. And I think
Absolutely.
youth ministry, as we're discipling the next generation, that's just a component that comes in a lot, is the worship component and those kind of things.
Yeah.
So make sure you call in today if you're watching, 552-242-MATT. Go ahead and call us in. You'll see the number right there. And call in. And if we don't answer here, because we're taking other people's calls, leave a voicemail. Let us know your story, what question you have, and we'll get a hold of you and get you called in. Well, these are just some really incredible calls coming in, questions, and I actually didn't realize it was going to go this long. As far as the questions and people and the need. We have people waiting on the calls right now. In fact, if you're watching right now, go ahead and call in, 552-242-MATT. I don't know if that's actually the number, but it's actually right there. I do know the last part, Matt. It's right there. You'll see it. Call in. And if we don't get you live, because we have people waiting here on the calls, leave a voicemail. Let us know your question, your story. We'll get connected back to you, and you can call in on one of our live tapings.